Mhm.
do. Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard. Here it is, Hump Day.
Yes, and we have a lot going on in the city of Savannah, Bill.
Sure does. Wednesday, the 26th day of July.
Yes, and today the Board of Registrars, they have decided to move their meetings going forward to...
Really?
They are...
Make it more convenient for the rest of us to get there?
Yeah, because they're going to be via WebEx, so they will be online.
WebEx.
They moved it last month because they said that someone had COVID, and so they were taking precautions.
Uh-huh.
They did not go back to in-person, and I wonder if it has anything to do with the Board of Elections, that meeting that happened last month. But I could be wrong.
Where Beth Maggioni was carried out like a sack of potatoes?
Yeah, that would be the one.
Okay.
So they are having it, but it is via WebEx today at noon. So if you can attend that, I think it's important for us just to know what's going on. It doesn't mean that you need to speak or say anything, but I do think it's important that you understand honestly what their job is, because they are, these people are elected to these boards. So know what you're voting for. Know if the person that you are voting for is qualified to do the job that they're hired to do.
That's right. See if they know what they're doing.
Yes.
Evaluate. And then remember when you're voting next time.
Yes. And, speaking of that, Thursday, we actually have the Savannah City Council meeting where they will be voting on the millage rate. And then Friday morning, we have the commissioners meeting this week. So lots of stuff going on in Savannah. There's always a city government meeting. We have a lot of government here. So
we do. Way too much, as a matter of fact. But nevertheless, that's what we're putting up with.
Yep.
Here in Georgia, we have more counties than any other state. We got more government than anybody needs.
California only has 58 counties, and we have 159. I think that's wild.
That is kind of interesting. And
Yeah.
Nevada, I think, which is like twice the size of Georgia, has like 8.
Yeah, I believe Utah only has 29.
Yeah.
So
So there you go. But
anyways.
at the same time, a lot of that is just empty space. I mean,
Yeah.
You drive around those states, and you're like, I wonder if I'll ever see anybody else.
Yeah, there's parts of Utah I wouldn't want to live in. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Grew up in the beautiful part of Utah, so I have no complaints. But
There are some beautiful parts.
yes, definitely. And something that happened last night was I believe it was a 7-hour Metropolitan Planning Committee meeting.
Wow, I bet that was exciting.
I think that people are just starting to get sick of stuff being rezoned and things just changing without them having any input.
Without, and they when they go to these meetings, you get the impression that they've already decided they'll listen to what you have to say as long as it doesn't interfere with what they've already decided to do.
Yeah, and I mean, they had the vote, and there was only 2 no votes last night. Kind of disheartening when you have all these people that actually bust themselves into this meeting to share, kind of the change in landscape that it would mean for them and their businesses, the churches. The owner of Redgate Farms is on this Buckhalter Road as well, and they've rezoned it from agricultural to now being a light industrial zoning, which we all know once they start inching into that, it's going to be full blown industrial at some point.
And the sad part is, driving around these days, it's hard to go a mile or two without seeing another warehouse that looks like you could play the Super Bowl in there.
Yeah, and I don't know what the solution is, but maybe when this land goes up for sale, you get your neighbors and you've developed some sort of a coalition where you buy in together and you can keep it the same. But it does make it very challenging when you have these places coming in and just buying out every open space. And, that area is actually one of my favorite areas to drive around because it isn't taken over by industrial stuff. I live in Pooler. There's tons of that going on out there. And you go over to South Carolina, it's happening, Effingham County, out by Ottawa Farms. It's getting crazy out that way. You see it on Veterans Parkway. Our county is going to be full of just warehouses, and there's not going to be a lot of these trees and things, which is one of the reasons that I love living in the South is just all of the trees and the greenery. You don't really have that in Utah. It's very vast. We do have mountains and things like that, but it's just very different here. And they just keep tearing down trees.
Yeah. In fact, I remember covering a junior golf tournament over at Hilton Head some years back, and I was asking some of the young golfers, what young golfer I was talking to from Oklahoma. I said, "What do you like about our golf courses over here?" He said, "They're trees." And I'm like, "They're trees?" he said, he said, apparently in Oklahoma he played on golf courses that didn't have trees. So, we continue to, when you continue to wipe out things like, and what bothers me as much as anything else is the farmland that we've paved over. We're having enough trouble, and we keep talking about food shortages, and this could be coming like a freight train of getting food supplies. And we one of the great things about America is the fact that we've had our farmers have produced enough food to feed us and the rest of the world, most of the rest of the world besides. That's not getting much of the case anymore, especially since we're losing family farms right and left. Ottawa Farms that Brittany just mentioned is the only farm left in Chatham County, and I think they're getting ready to sell that.
It's beautiful too. It is a beautiful piece of property.
When I was growing up here, there were at least three other farms in the community where we got when you were drinking a glass of milk, it was manufactured within 20 miles of where you were drinking it here. We had Starland Dairy, we had Robert's Dairy. There was another company called Foremost that was making all milk made here. It was practically farm to table.
It sounds like it was probably delicious as well.
It was, and of course it was. You didn't have to go to the store to get it either, because the milkman came along and built the milk right on your back porch.
I miss those days. Actually used to. We have. I think you guys have it here too. Winter Dairy. We used to have it delivered. It was so
and we don't talk about recycling these days. That wasn't anything new. You washed out the bottle. You put the empty bottles
glass
back out, and they were they took those and they sterilized those and brought them back, and nobody died of anything. Nobody diseases weren't spread or anything else.
Yeah, and Lizzie says Robert's Dairy. Robert, okay.
Yeah.
And then Steve Stanton says, carried out like a sack of rotten potatoes, which is referring to Beth Mageroni.
Mageroni being taken out of the
Board of Elections meeting last month.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then he also says, good morning, all. So
thanks
morning,
Steve.
Yes, good morning, and thanks for tuning in. Yes. And then, Bill, there is... I don't know if you recall all the news stories about a month, maybe 6 weeks ago, about how, crime is down, the shootings are down here in Savannah. And I believe this came from our very own mayor.
Yeah, Mayor Van Johnson was doing a happy dance.
Yes.
On how bad how good the crime situation was here.
Yeah, and now just over this past weekend, we have 5 shootings being investigated.
So sometimes spiking the football is not the best idea. Now you can go ahead and say, well, we're proud of this fact. And so that certainly helps out with tourism and everything else, but things are getting swept under the rug that we're not aware of.
Well, and Anthony Burton, who's running for DA here, on one of his posts yesterday, he says one of the biggest jokes to come out of regarding these shootings. When shootings happen in close succession like this, they are almost always related or retaliatory for other shootings. This is what having a pro-crime DA gets you. Savannah is bleeding out. The question is, in the next election is simple. Do we want to apply tourniquet to the wound or another bullet hole? So
yeah. This is our Soros elected DA.
Yeah, who's been on vacation somewhere. So she doesn't really care about what's going on here in Savannah.
Bless her heart. Hope she's having a good time.
Yes, but I mean,
those criminals certainly are.
Yeah, well, they know that they're not going to be prosecuted. And, we'll have Anthony in the next week or so to kind of talk about this. But, there's a lot of stuff happening, and they're not really the statement that was released yesterday by Cook Jones was that the commission or the oversight committee that was just put together by the governor is dangerous for reform for the prison system. And I think it's just dangerous for her to lose her job because she knows that what she's doing is illegal. She is not following the law. She's not, making sure that these criminals go to jail. I think that they're making a lot of mistakes, and these people are allowed to just go free because they didn't do the right thing. They didn't follow protocol. They didn't do procedure right. And she's lost most of the ADAs in that office.
Yeah, that's the reason. And of course, you notice that the Democrats had their shorts in a wad, which is nothing unusual because that commission was created. and good on the governor for creating it. And she's one of the ones that ought to be on the list to go out right now.
Well, and
let her stay on vacation.
Yeah. Well, DA Jones' administration, her big thing is conviction integrity unit. She's never really explained what that means, but can assume it means she's looking back at past cases to see who she can accuse of racism. All that is going on while she is still actively prosecuting several people arrested by this officer who has now been fired for lying on multiple search warrants, etc., on multiple cases. Those cases should be thrown out immediately. That's usually what happens. Cases are thrown out when it's proven that the officers have lied or planted evidence or whatever to get the investigation done and people convicted. Apparently not in our DA's world. That doesn't happen.
So what is the story on this detective that lied? It was terminated for, say, violating policies that included truthfulness and honesty. Truthfulness and honesty. Well, there you go.
The reporting on this is also awesome.
You don't want to confuse those two,
yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
The policy violations cover they said, a wide variety, such as ethics and conduct, criminal investigations, and court protocol. Now, you would think that SPD Detective Ashley Wood, who was the lead detective in a 2018 homicide, was accused of falsifying information against suspect Marquise Parrish, whose charges were dropped just a week ago. Why? And what was the lie about?
I don't know. The reporting's not really in there, is it?
No, I can't find it. So with evidence collected from a search warrant thrown out, there wasn't enough to bring charges against him. A search warrant that was thrown out.
Well,
I've never heard of a search warrant being thrown out.
No. Unless there was a basis for it, which it seems like no investigation whatsoever is going on in the DA's office. They've dropped the ball on multiple occasions. So it really doesn't surprise me that we're seeing all of this. And Lizzie says there's other crime happening besides shootings. You're absolutely right. There's a lot going on here in Savannah that people aren't talking about. And
shootings just make the headlines.
Yes.
But there's a lot of crimes that go on that are extremely difficult to prosecute. They are extremely, and they have a great consequences on the rest of our lives.
Well, and there's no evidence against the detective. That's not what it sounds like. But they're not releasing a lot of information, it looks like. And I think that that's the other thing. There's been no transparency with this DA, and there's been so many problems. So I think that that's one thing that everyone should be considering when they're voting for their DA in 2024. And people better show up in droves to make sure that we get some of these people out of office locally, because it definitely impacts your life at a level that you don't really understand until it's happening. And really, the poorer communities are the ones being really impacted by her lack of being able to prosecute murders, rapes, all those heinous crimes.
One has to wonder, because sometimes in the poorest communities that are most affected by this are the ones who vote in droves for the people who are causing the problem. And this is why we need to get out. We've had some great candidates go up and were beaten by the incumbent, sometimes by a landslide. And these candidates were extremely well qualified. They wanted to get involved, and yet they get their head handed to them, figuratively, of course. In an election, and it goes back to the people and it's our fault for not going to the polls. So saying, okay, it's just a local election.
Well, not being educated on who these people are and what they're capable of. So I think it is on us, but we need to be better, and that's why we need to get engaged.
Show up at these meetings.
Yep.
If you think you're going to miss your favorite television show, remember we've had VCRs since about 1975. And we've had, and the DVRs now are 100,000 times better and cheaper. And you can DVR your own favorite show, and you can watch it whenever you want to.
Not that there's that much going on in TV world, anyways.
That's right. You don't have to miss your favorite show. Get out to these meetings, these local meetings, and make your voice heard, or at least listen to the people that are running for office and make an educated vote.
Absolutely. And on that note, we're going to toss it to break, and we'll be right back.
For nearly 30 years, crime was falling in the United States. No more. Far-left politicians have allowed our streets and parks. The national murder rate is at its highest in 25 years. The result of far-left policies that leave innocent Americans at the mercy of violent criminals. You've seen the images. Subway riders pushed onto tracks by the violently deranged. Stores being looted in broad daylight. Elderly women viciously beaten on the street and outside their homes. Gang shootings turning cities into war zones. Hardened criminals rampaging without fear. No fear of arrest. No fear of prosecution. No fear of jail. No fear of any consequence at all. Instead, you are made to live in fear. Woke, progressive prosecutors are releasing dangerous predators before trial. Woke, far-left politicians have allowed our streets and parks to be overrun with crime and drugs. Police have been made into the enemy, and criminals into a protected class. Violent crime is up 21% in Washington, D.C., 35% in Chicago, 41% in New York City, and murders are up 207% in Portland. Cities in chaos, billions in property damages, lives and families destroyed. Stop the woke war on police. Stop the far-left assault on public safety. Stop the radical left-wing love affair with criminals. Stop the insanity. Citizens for Sanity paid for this ad.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934. With personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard here this morning. Disturbing story. We just heard about a guy who should have been executed for treason 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, Bo Bergdahl. And thanks, Mark Morris, for putting this in the chat. Bill and I were discussing it during the break. And, you know, when did we stop holding people accountable for treason? Because we all know that most of the people in our administration should be held accountable to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just about all to the Democrats. But nevertheless, Bo Bergdahl was a deserter, and
walked off his post,
and they thought perhaps he had been captured or something of that nature. We sent out a team to look for him, and 6 soldiers died in the hunt. And turns out he turned himself over to the Taliban, and was there for a long time. And to get him back, the Dalai Lama decided that we could exchange 6 terrorists that we had behind bars for him. So maybe it was 5, but nevertheless, it comes back. He was a deserter, and yet he comes back. His parents and him and all got this big welcome at the Rose Garden at the White House from the Dalai Lama, and he was classified as a hero, given his back pay, promoted to sergeant, I believe, and. You know, my stepson was in the Army for nearly 20 years. I was hoping he was going to go 20. I wish he had, because he could be getting a pension now. But he had to get out because he was passed over for promotion 3 times. 3 times. And yet, if you went back and looked at his reports from his commanding officers, every one of them, I'm not saying this because he's my stepson, was a damn fine soldier. Every one of them said, "This is the best NCO I have ever worked with." And yet he's passed over for promotion 3 times. But Bo Bergdahl gets out, gets promoted, gets back pay, gets a welcome at the Rose Garden, and turns out he was a deserter. So they finally did a little retroactive thing here and court-martialed him, and he was put in prison. But now he's going to get out.
Yeah, and it looks like on a technicality, something to do with the judge who convicted him didn't have enough information. He didn't expose part of his application, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know all the details, so I'll have to dig into that. But Steve Stanton also says, remember how sweet the Dolly O was on Bo's mama?
Uh-huh. And then the other one of the other soldiers that was put behind bars for sedition, releasing top secret information, and became a trans, and we paid for his sex change operation and the whole bit. He was also pardoned by Obama as he was leaving office.
I don't even want to go into. Here's the thing. The amount of tax money that we are paying for things, like I just keep thinking, where is all this money coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we pay taxes, but that's for roads. It's to support our military, which is, I'm not sure where that's going. But, we're paying.
Going to Ukraine.
Well, it's going to Ukraine, but it's also, we're paying for surgeries. We're paying for all of these illegals to come in. When you're talking about $7,000 per person to stay in a facility that was a high school,
Mm-hmm.
This is in Chicago, of course, on the south side. And where's all that money coming from? Like, we don't have any money. I don't know.
Where does Chicago get it? I mean, for that
from
matter,
the federal government.
Yeah.
But the federal government is taking money from us, and we're in debt. Like, we do not have the money to keep giving to everyone. I think that there's a lot of problems in this country, and I am just not really sure at what point the taxpayer is going to stand up and say enough.
Yeah. I don't know what the tipping point is going to be, but you better do it before it's too late. But because they want to run your lives for everything, including your appliances. Now, this goes back some time. I think there was a big protest originally about 10 years ago, and they said, we're going to the washing machines for your clothes washers should use less water, make it a smaller capacity, and people tried to point out, well, then I'd have to do maybe 2 or 3 loads rather than 1 load, which would actually use more water. And it occurred to some genius, but they're at it again, including your hot water heater now. Of course, and they're talking about gas stoves. Natural gas is a abundant resource. It is clean. It is cheap, and there wouldn't be a restaurant. There are very few restaurants that could stay open if they had to switch to electric appliances, electric stoves, that is. And they keep coming up. They say, well, electric stoves or electric water heaters are more efficient than gas water heaters. No, they're not. I lived with an electric water heater for several years of my life, and I remember how long it took for that thing to recover. I have a gas water heater now that's 70 gallons, and I don't ever remember running out of hot water at my house in the last 25 years. This thing recovers so quickly, it's unbelievable, and it's almost 30 years old. And now they're trying to every time you turn around, they're trying to run our lives, and this is one of the reasons why, that they're trying to take your appliances from. In fact, so I think Cringe Jean-Pierre was asked about it at a press conference where only the Fox News reporters and some others ask an intelligent question.
Well, and I think, Bill, the reason that they're doing this is because anything that's efficient or makes our life easier, they want to get rid of it so that, we don't have access to it.
Yeah, but of course, it doesn't mean that they're going to make their house more friendly, appliance friendly.
Appliances. So from this administration, we've seen them go after gas stoves, air conditioning units with regulation, refrigerators, washing machines, dishwashers, now water heaters. How many more home appliances will Americans eventually have to replace then because of regulations?
So just to be clear, when it comes to water heaters, and it is proposed, what has been put forward, and if it is enacted, it would not take it into effect until 2029. So let's not forget that. So we want to make sure that we have the facts out there. And if and when it is enacted, it's going to help consumers save about $11 billion a year. That's what the president wants to do. He wants to make sure that we lower costs for the American people. That's why the Inflation Reduction Act is so important, right? Because it's going to provide up to $2,000 in credit as it relates to energy. So those are the things that the president is focused on. But again, if enacted, it wouldn't be enacted until 2029. And if it is enacted, to add to that, consumers would save $11 billion a year.
So my toaster is safe.
So she just lied because she's like rebates and all of that stuff. Remember the electric car rebates, and those cars were like 60, 70,000 and people couldn't buy them, but you could get a rebate. So they were saving you money. That's basically how that's going to work.
Okay, do the math. 2029. How long is that? 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
5 years. Think about 5 years ago. You know, we talk about 5 years from now. That seems like a long time. You talk about
It's
5
not.
years ago. It seems like day before yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens in 1929 then? Well, I mean, they don't answer. They don't answer the question. We had a city manager here who I thought was going to be gangbusters,
Okay.
and he decided that that City Hall and some other historic buildings down. He didn't seem to get Savannah's history and why people came here. He said, "Well, we need to move the city government out to a building over on the Chatham Parkway, and we're going to rent this building, and it's going to cost us less for rent. We'll save money for 10 years, over a 10-year period." And what happens after 10 years? So, in other words, we wouldn't have City Hall in the city. I mean, and we finally ran this guy out of town on a rail. I'm sorry he got death threats and things of that. That was totally unnecessary. He was a nice guy. He just didn't get Savannah. I'm sorry. Really knew his job and was trying to save money. But City Hall should be at City Hall. They should meet the
Downtown,
meetings there and know that the
Well, it was built
buildings
for that.
around it. Yeah,
It was built for that.
exactly right.
Steve Stanton says, "Do you take more than one shower a week?" LOL.
Mm-hmm.
Lizzie Warren says, "My daughter lived in Germany and had an energy efficient vacuum. Of course, it took 3 or 4 passes over a piece of lint to pick it up. The motor was so weak."
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And when we talk about it, you got another one?
Yep. Mark Morris says, "All part of the plan to drive citizens toward dependence on a central government."
Mhm.
You're absolutely right, Mark.
Yeah. Just like I don't know if it's Philadelphia or one of the cities that bought these electric buses. And we're going to be doing that too. Thank you.
We
very
already did
much.
6
Yeah.
of them.
I know. Yeah. And I don't think they're en route yet because they can't fix them. But
There's problems. Imagine
there's
that.
some problems. But there was one city that said they had to have 2 buses for the same route during the same work period because the first one ran out of electricity. So they had to have 2 buses, which cost much more than the diesel powered buses, and they had to have 2 of them for the same route during the same work frame.
It's ridiculous, Bill. And, something else that we're going to talk about coming back is OMG Media, which is O'Keefe's media group.
Uh-huh.
They're doing great work, and they're going after our legal system now. And I think that is really important. I think there have been a lot of things, especially in family court, that have been allowed that probably shouldn't be. So when we get back, we'll be talking about that.
That's coming up next.
I don't think it's an accident that I ended up writing music for a living because I think I lived in a house where I saw how deeply it affected everyone in the house. And just how much everyone defined themselves by the music they listened to.
Music as a framework, I think, gave my parents my identity from a young age. You can like any music that you want if it makes you feel happy. And now when I hear certain songs, I think of them, and I think of them in their happiest state, and it makes me happy.
If they seem like they're having trouble talking about something, I try to tell them about a time when I felt something similar.
Whatever the issue was, we would tell them the pros and cons and how important it was that they had come to us because we could always help them. I think the real important point, we always told them, no matter what you do, no matter what happens, we will help you through it no matter what it is.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934 with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
When I grow up, I want to work for a woke company, like super woke.
When I grow up,
I want to be hired based on what I look like
rather than my skills. I want to be judged by my political beliefs.
I want to get promoted
based on my chromosomes. When I grow up, I want to be offended by my coworkers and walk around the office
on eggshells
and have my words policed
by HR. Words like
grandfather,
peanut gallery,
long time no see,
no can do.
When I grow up,
I want to be obsessed with emotional safety and do workplace sensitivity training all day long. When I grow up, I want to climb the corporate ladder
just by following the crowd.
I want to be a conformist. I want to weaponize my pronouns. What are pronouns?
It's time to grow up and get back to work. Introducing the #1 woke-free job board in America, redballoon.work.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to you're aboard here on this Wednesday morning.
Yes, and lots to talk about. Our friend Lizzie Warren on the last topic says the school board's electric bus subsidy requires driving a metal rod through the engines of an equal number of internal combustible engines. So they have to destroy one of the buses they have now in order to get the electric bus. And they're perfectly good buses, by the way.
That's what was there was something? What was it? The early part of the original Obama administration, where they were talking about these cars, and they had to the used car business went skyrocketing because they said you had to destroy the old car in order to get this new car, and it was like, why? I can't remember the exact circumstance. Sure, somebody does. So fill us in. You can send us an email on that.
I don't recall that.
It was like it was total insanity. How you had to destroy the car that you had in order to get the next one.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Apparently, we're turning into the China model. No matter what it is, just throw it away. It's fine. It's totally fine. No matter how expensive it is, just throw it away and get a new one.
Yeah, that's right.
According to the government, and they will tell you what the new better one is.
Mm-hmm.
You can't choose on your own.
Yes, sir.
So James O'Keefe, he has done amazing investigative journalism. He left Project Veritas, I think, earlier this year, and
when he has to leave his own company,
he was asked not to participate and sent him on leave, and then told him he couldn't do any work. But he's like, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing.
How pathetic is that?
Yeah. So he basically got kicked out of his own company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So be careful who you pick when
that
you pick board
happened at
members.
Apple once, and it damn near ruined him.
Yep. People don't learn lessons.
So
that's
they brought
for sure.
the old guy back, and then skyrocketed.
Yeah. So he's looking into the legal system, which I think is really interesting. I've seen a lot of documentaries on how a lot of the family court works, and it is very disturbing to me, especially because typically when you're going through divorce, you're pretty mad about something, and typically it's not. You guys aren't that friendly anymore, so you're really going for the jugular, and things that people will do is just amazing to me. So I do think it's really great the way that he is doing this investigative reporting, and I was also appalled at some of the stuff that they found. So,
well, let's see what he dug up this time.
They can get your text messages.
Really?
They can get your entire Facebook history and all your messengers.
On
SMS text
Wow.
messages, like between her and I.
You better start deleting crap.
Oh,
You know,
You don't want to come off as using your children as bargaining chips, but like the order of protection. If you had an order of protection in there, well, that's a bargaining chip because he cannot come around you or the children during that time.
Tired of family disputes like divorces, child custody cases, which only have the point of enriching your lawyers? What if I told you there was a solution, a tool that could help you expose the corruption in the family court judiciary? Evidence, facts, screenshots, had an affair? That doesn't matter. You can delete all that stuff so no one has to see it.
I mean, like I said, no one knows about us yet, so.
well, you're still married, so you're committing adultery, and that's the way the court will look at it. Adultery.
So we gotta hide that.
Does the text messages, do they get a copy of them?
Yeah.
They
If you're-
do?
If you're in discovery, they can look at your bank
I
account.
thought it was just the phone call records.
No, they can get your text messages.
Really?
They can get your entire Facebook history and all your messengers.
On SMS text
Wow.
messages, like between her and I? Because
Yeah,
there's some
they'll have-
graphic
they'll have you-
sexual
well,
stuff
oh my
there.
gosh. You better start deleting crap.
Oh,
You know?
Are you deleting
Yeah.
it? Like, is it stuck on the cloud if we delete it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but if they subpoena the stuff,
I
they
could
might
delete it,
get
and then maybe it'll be deleted off the cloud. No one will
But
find out.
well, you can't lie. I mean, if they you're under oath when you answer
Yeah.
things.
So I have to say, do I have to say, oh, then I deleted it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
We'll just say, I don't know. Go get separate legal advice on that.
Okay.
But, you know,
All
but
Okay, thank
right
you.
now you're not in a lawsuit, so you can do whatever you want. But
Yeah.
once the lawsuit starts, which is your divorce, you cannot hide or spoil evidence.
Yeah. And in some jurisdictions, as we all know, the courts favor women.
And then getting her, in the future, full custody of her children, and what's the best way to do that? Is the courts here, are they friendlier to women in that sense?
Yes.
They are?
Yes.
How so?
On 3 or 4 cases that I've worked on full all the way through, all of them have had some aspect of the father wanting more time with the children because the court gave preference to the mother. So,
Yeah.
I mean, across the board, it generally does favor the mother.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Lawyers encouraging the lowest of low by encouraging false accusations against your spouse.
I'm just really trying to figure out like the best plan of action here for me in regard to like finding, it sounds weird to say it, but like essentially what's gonna like ensure me the most custody in court.
To give you an example, you don't want to come off as using your children as bargaining chips, but like the order of protection. If you had an order of protection in there, well, that's a bargaining chip because he cannot come around you or the children during that time. most likely.
Yeah.
We want you to expose lawyers in your community.
So I'm a big fan of doing some investigative journalism on attorneys. I do think that they have used the system to make money. They've drawn out court cases. They work together with their friends. If they know your lawyer, that type of thing. I do think that there's a lot of wastefulness that goes on in our justice system.
Yeah, and of course, these lawyers are being educated by the same people from our colleges that we talk about all the time that are indoctrinating kids, turning them into communists. And so, what do you expect from the legal system? It bothered me to no end when Clarence Thomas in the Clarence Thomas hearings, when he was up for Supreme Court justice, and all of a sudden this Anita Hill woman came out of the woodwork, and she's still teaching law at the University of Oklahoma.
That's ridiculous.
And she's making all these accusations, which prove to be totally
False.
specious.
Mhm.
And these people are teaching lawyers. It bothers me the same thing with our medical schools. If you've got a bunch of surgeons running around think it's okay to whack off kids' genitals, and without a parent's permit or the parental permission or anything else, just because the school board says they have to, I don't know how they can live with themselves. What's the prime directive of the Hippocratic Oath? First, do no harm.
But they're being indoctrinated to believe that this is gender affirming care and that it's going to save this person's life. The long-term studies do not show that. There's a lot of studies, especially European countries that started all this crap. They're done with it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not doing it. I just...
You'd think we could learn from that. And,
Nope.
and the people who have come forward now, just in the last week or so, on the Fox News channel. I know a lot of you are watching it, but I watch it so you don't have to. But what's you're missing a lot of good stuff. I'm sorry. I'm mad at I'm still mad at him for firing Bill O'Reilly. So
well, they're also like they are starting to push propaganda, Bill, and that's the thing that I have an issue with. So
well, not the shows I watch, but the whole point is that they've had several trans people on who have come forward now and are suing doctors, suing psychiatrists and teachers who convinced them that this is what they had to do, and they are forever damaged and living in pain, and it's something that will one of the guys said, I will never be out of pain for the rest of my life. There's nothing that can be done to correct this.
Not only that, they are never going to be the people that they were meant to be.
No.
And you can't undo it.
No.
And these people have shortened their life because of it.
Yeah, this one girl, she now, she wants to have a baby, and she can't.
It's horrible.
It is. And so these attorneys are being educated by these left-wing loons in these institutions that are the same people from the undergraduate school or whatever that come out, thinking that black is white and that it's not discrimination if you don't let Asian people in, but you can let more Hispanics or blacks in, and that seems to be equality.
Yes, and Lizzie says, transition justice on Twitter will break your heart. That's an account on Twitter that you can follow. Mm-hmm. As one detransition person said, with anguish, you can never go back. One of the biggest long-term side effects is urinary incontinence. Mm-hmm. That sounds horrible. They are not also explaining the consequences of these surgeries to these people. They have no idea that they are literally going, if you transition to a female, you have to literally force that wound open every day. Mm-hmm. That's excruciating. Like, that's horrible that people are willing to do this to someone and not even let them know that that's the consequence of this action and this decision. The other thing that I think is sick and just really disgusts me is the fact that we have algorithms that are promoting this type of stuff. So we have more trans people coming out and getting popular on these social media websites and normalizing this kind of stuff. It's not normal. This is not what we should be doing. And literally these men, I saw this guy, believe me, doing research for the show sometimes is like excruciating because you have to watch all this stuff. But this guy he's a man, but he, has grown his hair out and, tries to portray himself as a woman, went and hit on one of these, told this guy, I think you're really attractive, I'm really interested in you. And he's like, sorry, like, I'm straight. I don't date men. And he was really offended. And he's just, he's like, I am a woman. And it's like, but you're not. And we need to stop affirming these people because it's going to destroy our culture here. And it's also
doing a good job of it too.
Well, here's the other thing. It's going to create more hate against these people. And I don't wish that on anyone, but we have got to stop normalizing things. And it's the algorithm and it's not reality. And when you get into reality, it's vastly different than the internet.
And this insistence on coming up with special privileges for a particular class is not how this country was founded. Equality was what it was all about. When they talk about these, gay rights, you already have your rights.
Yes, you have the same rights I do. Mm-hmm, and the other thing that I think is really dangerous is that I saw yesterday that Connecticut is passing a law that is going to include pedophiles as a protected class. How's that? How is that happening?
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Vote these people out. Take our country back. These people are disgusting. Mary McCann Hybreeder said it's the only surgery that treats mental illness. I don't know why we're affirming people in these situations because it's very dangerous and there is no going back. And the fact that people are on board with this is disgusting, and these doctors should be prosecuted at the fullest extent of the law.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that there was Dr. Death, who was doing some spinal surgeries. He was the first physician to ever be sued civilly and criminally at the same time, and he's in jail in Texas. These doctors, they need to be held accountable, and what they're doing to children is disgusting, and people should sue them. They should go to jail.
There we go. Meanwhile, what do we really know about Jeffrey Epstein, and how soon do we know it? Talk about that and more coming up next.
Who is a kid? Well, that's a kid. And another. Look, a gaggle of them. Or is it a herd? Litter? Pride. But what about her? Tell her she's not a kid. Or him. So how do we tell who is a kid? Height? Age, maybe. But some of us have to grow up faster than others. A kid. A kid. A kid wants to make the world better. And one day, he just might. Is a kid fearless? Vulnerable? Strong? Nervous? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
Savannah, I'm coming home, Savannah.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard on this Wednesday morning, 26th day of July.
Yes. And Bill, going back to our conversation we were having before the break
Mhm.
about Connecticut, being okay with pedophiles, protecting them, because, that's what we do in this country.
Yes, sirree.
We protect people,
Mhm.
no matter how disgusting they are. And one of the things that our country has done that doesn't make any sense to me is the Epstein stuff. We've never seen Epstein's Black Book. I wonder why. Who could be listed in that book?
Yeah.
And someone that was arrested for child trafficking, but yet they were trafficked to no one because no one else went to jail. That's interesting.
I have spent the last 17 years in my own prison for what she, Jeffrey, and all the co-conspirators did to me. I was raped repeatedly. I was raped 3 times a day sometimes. And I was not the only girl on that island. There was a constant stream of girls being raped over and over and over again. And yes, Ghislaine must die in prison because I've been in hell and back for the last 17 years.
And 27 for me.
I was 10 years old when Liz Stein was being trafficked. I was 10. That is how long the sex trafficking ring has been going on.
So that was one of the victims of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. They do need to make that list public of who was involved. It's not happened, and it makes you wonder why. There's a lot to be said about why we're hiding things in this country.
And the widow of Senator John McCain, Cindy, says that they knew about Epstein for a long time.
These power players a priority for us right now? Can we even touch them?
It's like everything. It hides in plain sight. Epstein was hiding in plain sight. We all knew about him. We all knew what he was doing. But we had no one that would go after him. They were afraid of him. For whatever reason, they were afraid of him.
This is Cindy McCain, the wife of John McCain, admitting at a conference that everyone knew what Epstein was up to, and this is the wife of a former Republican presidential candidate. That's hugely significant to say that it was just known and that powerful circles did nothing about it. And so that directly undercuts this whole narrative that, it was just Epstein and he conned everyone. But this didn't get really any mainstream coverage at all.
People need to understand the fact that government, the financial world, specifically the banking world, have enabled Jeffrey Epstein's crimes.
It's amazing to me that they knew about it. So that means they know probably who's involved.
Well, Epstein was covering his tracks by, I'm sure there was a lot of video of very prominent people that he had. Well, I don't know, like maybe a prince from England, a president of the United States. Bill Clinton took how many trips on that jet? On Epstein's jet?
I believe
86?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot. I've never even flown in a private jet. I've been in one, but Gulfstream has never offered. I've been in their simulator, but Gulfstream's never called and said, "How'd you like to come take a test flight with us?"
But here's the other thing: in Jeffrey Epstein's home in New York, there was a painting of Bill Clinton in a blue dress and high heels. I think that tells you everything that you need to know about these people. They're disgusting, and I do think that they have done things to get things on film to hold it over a lot of our politicians' head.
He was famous for blue dresses, wasn't he? Bill Clinton.
Not in the circles I ran in, but I mean, maybe I'm missing something. I believe it was the same. It was a Monica Lewinsky dress. So there's a lot of stuff to this painting. But the fact that he had it hung in his house of Bill Clinton is, I mean.
And suddenly this guy died. There's never been a suicide at this maximum. It always amuses me that this maximum security prison is the middle of Manhattan or whatever, somewhere in downtown New York. Like, that sounds crazy. But,
right.
Why wouldn't you have it in the middle of the desert somewhere where you can see clearly for 20 miles, even if somebody escapes?
Or like one of the islands off of New York. Why would you have the prison there? I mean, Alcatraz worked out pretty well.
Yeah, as a kid, I was real fond of. There was a really brief, unfortunately, so it wasn't like the Hardy Boys or some others where there were a lot of novels about them. There were only 8 books on Tom Corbett, Space Cadet, but it was pretty darn good. And one of the things was that they had a prison asteroid, so the bad guys were taken to literally another planet. type thing. I said, wow, what a good idea that is. This is something this prison had never had a suicide before. He was supposed to be on 24-hour watch, suicide watch. They were supposed to be checking on him, I think, every 15 minutes, at least every half an hour. And somehow there was an 8-hour gap. There was supposed to be video cameras of everything, and suddenly the video cameras in this section of the prison were out that night that he had suicide with help. So there are just so many. There's no such thing as, somebody said, there's no such thing as a coincidence. And how many coincidences do we have here?
Well, not only that, I mean, I think that he knew he had a lot of dirt on people, and he thought, I'm going to get out of this.
Well, that's it.
I mean, it's what other option do they have?
J. Edgar Hoover worked a lot like that, too. Why,
Yeah.
he stayed director of the FBI for so many years. As much as I respected him and the FBI for the most part, he had a lot of files on senators and presidents, and saying, I need a bigger budget for the FBI. And by the way, I have this file here.
Here's the thing. With some of this stuff, I mean, if they're involved with children, that's heinous, and there's no going back from that. Go to jail. I don't think that there's anything that you do to children that you're worth saving, but that's my own personal opinion. But I do think that when you're looking at how many people have been involved and the fact that no one is being held accountable, I could respect people that maybe, okay, they had they did something with fraud or something, or someone coming out and saying, look, this happened. I'm standing up to it because I would rather they just be honest about the stuff that they're doing instead of trying to continue to make deals with these evil human beings.
Exactly right.
Like I said, if it has anything to do with children, you're dead to me. I don't really care. I think that you should be held to the highest extent that the law can hold you to, but I think I could respect people that come out and say, look, this happened in my past. They're trying to, blackmail me. I'm not going to allow it to happen, but I hope that you guys will continue to support me because I'm going against these guys. I could respect people, but I think that people are very scared because they're powerful people and bad things could happen to them.
Well, one of my favorite shows back in the 80s was Growing Pains, and starring Kirk Cameron, who at the time, and we'll admit this, he was an atheist.
Yes.
As a kid.
Before we get to that, I just want to wrap up this segment with a couple of the comments. Mary says, why do you think they wanted to stop the Sound of Freedom? This is opening a can of worms. You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
They knew, Steve Stanton, they know who did the cocaine and who's on Jeffrey's list. And then Lizzie Warren says we need whistleblowers. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I bet you they know who released the Dobbs decision as well.
They have to.
Yeah. You got only a handful of people could have known that in the first place. But Kirk Cameron was here a few months ago, promoting his great Christian ministry and helping kids. And it's the first time I've ever seen a line on a weekday waiting to get in at the library.
For 2 separate sessions. There was
a
line for both.
Sessions.
Yes.
Yeah, 2 separate sessions.
Yes.
Middle of the week, and it was a line to get in the library. I don't ever remember a line to get in the library for anything. And there it was. And he's off. He was in Virginia, had a packed library there, talking about helping kids and helping people.
Tell me, is he good? He's good. Tell me, is he God? He's God. He is good, God Almighty. You say your love goes on forever, that your mercy never stops. So why?
So he's doing a lot of really good things. August 5th, they actually have asked everyone to host in their area at their local library a reading to children, one of the Brave books. And we do not have one in our county yet. I mean, there's still time, but we do have one in Pierce County, Ware County, and also in Appling County, which is in our 1st district. And I'm excited to see that people are getting on these different movements to really help push things forward. I do think that we need to do things in a big way in this country, and the silent majority should not be silent because there are more of us than there are of them.
But the media doesn't want you to know that. We do.
Yes.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good day.
Stay real.